Hi everyone, Terry here. I thought Friday the 13th sounded like a really good day to do a video blog, so here we are. I'm trying a new setup today so you can see me a bit more in my natural habitat. So this is the sort of office study that I share with my husband upstairs. So you can see I've got some of my books behind me there, Banrock and a Friend, lots of our music collection. And this room tends to be a very busy place. The computer's sat on a desk. I don't actually write in here very often. I tend to do things like editing or checking final page proofs, all that sort of really picky, not as creative stuff. Writing I tend to do in so many different places, but I'll show you some of them as we go along with these video blogs. I'm just going to start with a little bit of news. Mind Games is my next book. It's a standalone, it's a futuristic thriller, and it is out on the 5th of March in the UK. And I've got some news about a few other places. It's going to be out on the 10th of March in Australia. So I know there's been a few people asking me about that. I think it was just this week that the news was released that in Brazil it's going to be published by Faro Literario. Sorry if I've said that wrong. And news today that I can share with you, I double checked that I was allowed to with my lovely German publisher. But yes, Mind Games is going to be published in Germany by Kopenroth Verlag, and it should be out in June or July. Just scrolling down my little document here to see what I'm supposed to tell you next. Right. Oh, a few events. I mentioned this before, but I'm doing a public signing in Oxford at Blackwell's. It's going to be at 1 p.m, not 2 p.m, but I'll stay there till a bit past 2, so if people come a bit later. That's on the 28th of February, which is a Saturday. The London one that I was going to do, unfortunately, there was a problem with the venue, so it's been cancelled for the moment. I'll try to find another bookshop to host me a signing in London on a Saturday sometime soon. And I should be doing one in Birmingham, Birmingham Waterstones on High Street. I'll confirm that once I've got the details confirmed. Now, the next thing I wanted to do was answer questions that I've been asked by readers in a variety of places. So here goes. The first one is from Stella in Germany, who basically was asking about how much planning I do when I write. This really varies a lot, so it's kind of a really hard question to answer. I think with that, I never used to plan very much, but I plan more and more now. And I think I've learned somewhere along the way that planning actually makes writing more fun, because you sort of have an idea where you're going, and you can just, have fun getting there. And it also makes it a lot more time efficient, because when you don't plan, you tend to unpick things and start over again. So when I wasn't facing deadlines, it was okay to just write to experience where the characters were wanting to go on that day. When you have a deadline and you have to get to the ending by a certain date, you have to be a bit more sort of directed as to what you're doing. So I plan more than I used to. Right. Rosa and Viviana from Spain asked when the trilogy will all be out in Spain. Now, Slated has been translated into Spanish. The second and third books are contracted to be as well. I don't actually have the date, but I'm going to try to find out. And if I find out, I will post it up on my Facebook page and so on, and mention it in my next vlog. Quite a few people ask, I've got Bear, and there were quite a few other people who've been asking whether there's any news of the film. So Slated was optioned for a film by a company called Prescience. This is several years ago now. They renewed the option, and I believe there's some work on a screenplay, but I have no further news as far as if it'll come out, when it'll come out, whether it'll be TV or whether it'll be a film. So as soon as I know, I will post it everywhere. Luna from France was asking about Mind Games, what the summary of it is. So I guess she's sort of looking for the blurb for that. There are blurbs up on, internet selling websites and bookshop websites and so on in the UK, but basically, the Mind Games is about, strangely enough, the main character's name is Luna, same as Luna from France, who was asking the question. And Luna is, she's looking for answers to questions that only she can find, and it's set in a futuristic world. It's sort of set partly in London, partly in the real world, partly in I've completely muffed that up, haven't I? Am I going to record this whole thing again, or shall I just try that again? You know, I haven't talked about mind games very much yet, and it's a funny thing because when you know every little thing about a book from beginning to end, it makes it really hard to sort of say it in a few sentences. I'll blame it on that. What I was trying to say is that Mind Games is set partly in a real world, partly in virtual worlds, partly in London and partly on an exotic island. Luna is someone who's been a refuser, so she doesn't plug into virtual worlds like all of her classmates and basically most people in society. And there's a reason for this. There's something about her that makes it very hard for her to plug in. So because of that, she sort of has refused all her life, and then something happens that makes her sort of have to try it, and all kinds of things come from that. And I think I better stop there before I get myself into more of a mess. Right, a few people, sorry if I get the name pronunciation wrong. I think it's Alishba and Naomi and a bunch of other people, and I get asked this quite a lot, is whether there will be another book in the slated trilogy. Trilogy tends to be 3, but I know what you mean. Is there going to be a sequel afterwards? I don't think so. I mean, it's possible that I could change my mind one day, but to me, the story was fully told in how I told it, and I don't really plan to go there again. I mean, I might change my mind one day, but I doubt it. I guess if I was actually really wanting to revisit The World Enslaved from writing again, in a way, I'd probably be more tempted to do a prequel, because I think all the backstory about Kyla's mum in the story is really interesting, you know, and I could sort of see doing that. But again, I don't have any plans to do that at the moment. And if that changes, I will let you know. Another thing I get asked, I've got a writer, I think her name's pronounced Lou, you know, who's asking about advice for writers, and I think she was just telling me she's writing something, and there's been a few other people have asked me for advice. I do have a page on my website, and hopefully that would be helpful. It's got some links and just some sort of general advice about writing, so that's a good place to visit, terryterry.com. You probably know that. Right, now I have a confession to make. I don't get real letters, you know, that someone's put in the post very often. And when I do, I try to answer them. And I got one from Chloe from Tyne School in Kingstonton. I think Kingstonton. I'm not quite sure how to say that. And she actually sent it last July, and I never answered it because it got misplaced. It was sort of put in the wrong place. And I found it a while ago, and I felt so bad about it. So I have actually answered it and sent her a card. Well, actually, I've written the card. I will post it very soon. But she asked a few questions, so I thought instead of writing them out, I would answer them here. So Kylie wanted to know if what was the first book I ever wrote. Now, Slated is the first book that I've had that's been published, but I've been writing for a long time before that. I think Slated was actually the 9th complete novel that I wrote. But none of those other ones are published, and they probably never will be. The very first book I wrote, I actually wrote a book when I was about 10 years old. If I can find it, I might hold it up in another one of these vlogs. You'll probably find it quite funny. It was about a cat, my cat, who had adventures when we were on holiday. So I didn't know I wanted to be a writer then, but I think the signs were kind of there because it was about 50 pages long. Right. Her next question was, where do I get ideas from? I get them from so many different places. There isn't one answer. Can just be something someone says or something you see in the news or read in a magazine, or sometimes things just trip from one thing to another. Like you think about one thing, it makes you think of something else, which makes you think of something else and something else. And, you know, so by the time you get to what the idea, you don't really have a clear idea where it came from most of the time. So I think if you're interested in writing and you're sort of wondering where to get ideas from, I think the best thing to do is just to be really open to when they come to you, no matter what kind of crazy thought you may have, you know. If it interests you, it'll probably interest other people. And I think I can't tell you the details of this because there's a new story that I'm starting hopefully quite soon. And there was some scientific stuff in it that I thought was completely ridiculous and made up, and I couldn't possibly use it in a story because it was too crazy. And then I started doing some research and found, to my immense surprise, that it was actually quite plausible. And that's a really freaky feeling. So yeah, so just to explore the ideas that you have, maybe keep a notebook and write them down all the time. And finally, Chloe asked, who are my favorite authors? I get asked this a lot again, and it's not an easy question to answer because my favorite book changes all the time. And so there's sort of the overriding classic ones that I've always loved, that I can mention, like The Lord of the Rings by Tolkien, that I read over and over and over again when I was a teenager. And that's, you know, been a big one for me, I think. But as far as very specific favorite authors, I find it very hard to answer that question, so I'm not going to. Another time I will show you my favorite bookshelves. I'll do that in a vlog coming soon, and so you can see, you know, all the favorite books that I have on there. So thank you for listening to me ramble on, and I'll try to get better about talking about my new book, Mind Games. It's coming out pretty soon, so I probably better work on that. Thanks for listening. Bye, everyone. Where's this button gone again? My mouse has disappeared. Ah, I found it.